This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. FLSD policy 0165.1. All right, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I have a volunteer to read the mission and vision?
I'll do it. Our mission is to foster academic and social growth for each student in a safe, supportive school environment. Our mission is to be a learning community that inspires our students and staff to think critically, grow intellectually, and live with integrity.
Thank you. All right, item 3, do I have a motion for additions to and approval of the agenda?
So moved.
I'll second. Okay. Do we have any discussion, changes? Okay. All those in favor of the agenda, say aye. 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 Item passes. Item number 4, do I have a motion to approve the minutes for special meeting on April 10th, 2024? And thank you. Big shout out to Dave and Latora for getting those done so fast. I appreciate it. Do I have a second? A second. Any discussion?
Great job again.
Yes, they were.
It was a lot and they came together.
All right, those in favor of approving the minutes, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Item passes. All right, Dr. Banks, item 5.
All right, so tonight I wanted to share a little bit about this year's work as we are in our 4th quarter. We're already starting to plan and look forward to next school year, but I wanted to take a moment to share what we've accomplished this year so far with the board. I put chapter 3, this is the 3rd year that I've been in this role, and that we've had almost everybody on our team in their roles, our leadership team. And so for us, we kind of counted in our chapters, what are we building on, what's the story we're telling? And so that's kind of where that came from. So again, as we just said, our mission and vision, but also our why. As a district, we sat down probably about 4 years ago and really, when Terry was still with us, and talked about what was our purpose here and what got us up in the morning collectively to show up for our students and staff and community. And it was, what we came to was to nurture each person's sense of self so that they know they matter. And so when we talk about whether it's instruction, whether we're meeting with community or we're meeting with each other, we're truly trying to foster that sense of self in each person. This is a quote I wanted to share with the group. It's a quote that resonates with what I'm sharing tonight, but never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. That's from Margaret Mead. And so really, we talk about how do our small conversations turn into big possibilities for our students and our community. All right, and then what guides us? So when we're in conversations, when we're planning, we're thinking about how are we supporting our diversity? How are we making sure we're making equitable decisions that benefit all students, all staff members, and all community members, so that we have an inclusive and belonging learning community? We talk a lot about with, not to. We don't do a lot of top-down. In fact, we try to do no top-down unless it comes from the state, and then we have to just kind of fall in line with some of those mandates. So when we have a problem, we try to bring people together with who are closest to that problem to find the possible solution and work through that. So it's not directives, it's not but really trying to bring people to find out what that could be. Connection before content. What we know is students learn best from people they have a close connection with. We also know students have a sense of community when they are connected to their peers, and the same with staff. So we take a lot of time to build connection with our students and staff so they know they matter, so that they can show up, learn, and show what they know. Curiosity, this is a spot of knowing that we don't know all there is to know, and there's always learning to be done. And so for this it is, what questions do we still have? What don't we understand? Why is the current way the way we're doing it? Is there a better way? So we always try to stay curious. Vulnerability, we know that vulnerability is a path to connection. We know it's a pathway to better services to our students and connection with our staff. And we're a big Brene Brown fan, so she talks a lot about vulnerability. All right, so last year when the board and I had a conversation about what were some of the measures, what were some of the things we wanted to see improve. Well, one of the things we talked about are our enrollment. And our enrollment, it's slightly changed from this, but when I put this presentation together, we were at 1,168 students, with 62 of those students attending the OAKS programming. We were projected by our enrollment study that determined the size of our OFCC project, we were projected to be at 1,151. So we are beyond that, and we we're beyond where we were last year at the same time. So we're encouraged by that. Part of that is, you hear us talk a lot about restorative practices and project-based learning. That kind of goes back to that equity piece. When we talk about instructional structures that are inclusive, we know that restorative practices and project-based learning allow that for all of our students. Also, our partnership with Allerton. Allerton is a communication firm, and they have partnered with us, or we partnered with them on telling our story. So some of you might have noticed since January, our social media has a different look and a different cadence. They're helping us with that. They helped me with the presentation, making it a little prettier than if I would have done it by myself. Things like that. Any communication, they're working in partnership with us. That was allowed through a generous donation we received from an alumni, and so we're trying this out to see if the feedback we get from the community supports us continuing that partnership. So we also talked about math. Our math scores have not been where we want them. And when you look at our state report card, you will see that. And so part of that, we were challenged last year by the board, how do we continue to increase that? Well, we did see increases last year. Our state report card showed that in our cohorts in grades 4, 6, 7, and 8, there were increases in math on the state test. We are by no means where we want to be, but we're trending in the right direction. It will continue to show up, and will continue in our work. Along with math and actually all areas, we added a gifted coordinator this year, Janelle Souders, and she is working with staff to build their capacity so that when they're doing instruction in the classroom, they're able to differentiate and meet all learners. She's also working with us on better understanding our gifted component on the report card and making sure that we're hitting that indicator. Our English language arts scores last year, we saw an increase in 7 and 8. Our literacy component is not where we want it. We continue to work on that. I just had a meeting this week. We missed literacy component we were a 1-star 2 years in a row. Last year we missed a 2-star by one student on one test. We're right there. So we're getting there. This year we have the literacy leadership team, which is led by Dr. Dinan and Ms. Baker and Jen Bayless. Ms. Bayless, our literacy coordinator. They are really working on curriculum at the elementary level that aligns with the science of reading. They're working on professional development to build the capacity in our teachers so that our instruction meets not only the needs of our students, but in that instruction our staff feels supported in trying something maybe new and different as we adopt these new resources. Our chronic absenteeism was probably one of the things I was most excited about. We decreased by 4.6%. This was significant. The state dropped by, I think it was 2.5%, 3%. So we were doing above and beyond where the state's at. We worked really hard with our district social worker, with our building presidents, or building administrators, your president, Elmer, on how do we really get our kids to show up to school, what conversations do we need to have with families, how how are we supporting them? And making sure that they want to show up, right? So that's partly on us. We also have the health system and family groups. Those are two, the family groups is at Finneytown Elementary, and the house system is at the secondary campus. Those are intended to bring smaller groups of kids together to build connections. And so we've done a lot of work on those this year. And then the family groups really focus on service and giving back, or what can they do to support one another. I know they've done different projects this year. The house system, if you're not familiar with it, I won't do it justice, but it creates smaller communities within the secondary campus so that there's competitions. There's also the leadership team, for house leadership team, that really drives that planning. And that's led by Charlie Crawley and a team of our house deans. The other thing we did this year is our graduation rate was 94.8%. The year before it was 92.1%. So we continue to graduate. All of our students graduated last year who were with us. The reason it's not 100% is if you start with us and you leave and you don't graduate while you're at another district, that actually counts against us. So I think understanding the measures are really important, because every senior who was with us last year walked across that stage. So we had 2 that went on for their 23-year for special education. But, and that shows up in this number too. But I just want to explain these numbers because I think a lot of times there's nuances to them that it's not clear. Lastly, we added a transition coordinator last year. That is really to help make sure all of our students have a path forward. So he's working on connections, that's Mike Brody. He's working on community connections so that our students can do different either internships or projects, talk with people in different areas and businesses so that they know what options are open to them. And so that's been really exciting, and we're in our first year, so I think it'll just we're hoping to expand that K-12, so we start talking even younger with our students about what they're interested in, what pathways they want to explore. That was a lot. Some celebrations this year. We had our athletic kickoff events this year. So there was one, there were a couple of these last year that were started by Mr. Warmack and Mr. Bunchmore, and we decided that we wanted to make them bigger. And so we have to bring our parents together at the beginning of each season and go over all the rules and all that stuff. We wanted to see it as an opportunity to celebrate our athletics and our athletes, so we talked about how can we make that different. So each season, we hosted a dinner, we brought people together, we talked about what that experience could be like, how we partnership around our athletes and support our athletes. And so I'm excited to see what that looks like as we continue it. Our marching band performed at Bands of America again. They also last summer got to perform at University of Louisville. Staff learning rollout. So a lot of people have had questions around what are the facilitators' positions and what are they leading? Well, our RP and PBL, our restorative practices and project-based learning facilitators, they were charged this year with rolling out our staff learning. And so if you're familiar with the school system, we have in-service days. Well, we knew in-service days didn't provide enough time for staff to learn and grow. So we started talking about what could it look like. So this year we host twice a month learning sessions before school for FE and after school for FSC. And these learning cohorts come together around topics that matter to them. And so we have everything from literacy to behavior to we have one on cell phone policy. There's 14 cohorts. And so we meet and talk about how do we get better, how do we try something or experiment with something that we think would add value to our learning community. Lunch charges, I just put this in here because that was a challenge. We've been moving away from universal free lunch during COVID. And then last year, or not last year, the year before, it was still no charge. Well, last year, the charges returned, but our families were in the habit of the universal lunch. So we really were faced with a high lunch debt. And so we came together and talked about how do we prevent that this year. Mr. Anderson, our building principals again, and our school counselors and our district social worker worked really hard at how do we attack this problem, how do we support our families, because a lot of our families qualify, but the paperwork and all those things. So that's been a huge success this year. And we're still working on it, so it's a work in progress. The launch of our new literacy curriculum, K-3, and then we are piloting 4-6. And this is a huge push from the state of Ohio in terms of aligning with the science of reading. We also recognize that our literacy instruction was not where we needed it to be. And so that selection and work took a lot of input from our teachers, from our intervention specialists, our support staff, and so we're really excited about that. We're in year 1, 3 to 5 years, so, but we're excited about where it's taken us. I mentioned the 3 new positions, and then our social media. I do feel like it's doing a better job of it sharing our story and all the work going on day in and day out. Reimagining the possibilities. So, as you all know, or hopefully you know, we are in the final stages of strategic planning. Hopefully in the next 2 months, you'll be able to see that. We're closing it out and finalizing that now. So I'm excited about that. Our special education leadership team has been working a lot on our services, our delivery, and more importantly, like how do we have and facilitate our IEP meetings so that it, again, is more about the connection with the family and partnership over those student services and what's going to help them on their journey. So if you've ever sat through an IEP meeting, they can be a little painful. And we want to switch that, and we want them to be a supportive experience and a partnership with our families. So I'm excited about that. Partnership with UC. We are, next year at the secondary campus, we are going to be teaching a Foundations of Education course. This is in partnership with UC. It'll count for UC credit. And our hope is to start a pipeline of our current teachers into education, because we know there's a shortage of education, people in education. So that we're excited about, and the possibilities that will provide for our students. Our OFCC project, we're breaking ground this summer. We are planning our groundbreaking on August 30th, so we will break ground before then, but the ceremony and all the excitement, we're planning on doing on right before Friday night football game. So mark your calendars, more to come. Our 100 building project, so this has shifted since I originally did this. Our initial 100 building, we were going to move district office there. Well, district office is here now. We made some pivots. We are still doing some renovations at the 100 building. We are able to keep the entire building, which we weren't originally, did not think that was possible, which will allow for a lot of flexibility for future needs or future planning. We have a partnership with the alumni in a more meaningful way. Mr. Anderson and myself are meeting with the alumni every other week. They have space now here to meet with us, and we're working on how do we create connections in a network that our current students can make for future pathways. So similarly, if we have somebody interested in engineering, but they don't really understand what that all looks like, well, here, we have an alumni who you can talk to and call. Those types of things we're trying to create. Continued partnership with Springfield Township. Pathway to Kindergarten, Stronger Connection. I'm going to save that as a lead-in for next week. If you come next week, you can hear more about that. But that is something we were really proud of and just finished up. And then our partnership with Interact for Health, which led to our Youth Advisory Council. That was a grant we received, and I'll share a little bit more about that as we go on. Leadership is convenership. So, I know a number of people in this room. I have seen you at Pro Action Cafes. That is our opportunity to engage with staff, community, students, help facilitate it, and really what it is to bring people together around topics that matter to them. So we've had everything from bullying to athletics to how do we keep our playground safe and usable for all in the community. Two things that came out of that this year, more recently, was our Stronger Connection grant, And then our volunteer with our faith-based leaders, we now have volunteers that come in at lunch during at Finneytown Elementary just to talk with our kids and to support them, because our people who are doing the supervision, they're kind of all hands on deck, so they're not really necessarily in conversation with our kids. So this provides additional adults that our kids can connect to that are a part of our community. I talked a little bit about the Youth Advisory Council. We had a kickoff luncheon. There's a group of students through this that will have the opportunity to go to the National Leadership Institute. It's up in Michigan. All expenses paid, including flight from our secondary campus. We are working with them on developing their leadership skills and how they can impact their learning community at the secondary campus and beyond. And so we're really excited about that. All these lovely acronyms are all of our different leadership teams. So we have a district leadership team, we have a district office team, we have our literacy leadership team and our SPED leadership team. And last but not least, our coordinators, facilitators, what was the PD? Principals, and district office. Thank you for that. I just called the CFPD. So, and we are in regular conversations about how we impact what's going on in the district and how we get better. And that has representation from each of the, many of those, if most of those have representation from the building level all the way to the district office level. We have our new hire luncheon. One of the things we recognize, and we want to retain our staff and our new staff, and how do we nurture them and know that they nurture their sense of self. So this year we did a mid-year luncheon for them and asked them to provide us feedback. We celebrated their contributions with the hope of that connection, making them feel like, yeah, I want to be here, I want to return here, I want to stay here. I mentioned the strategic planning. Mr. Anderson, myself, Dr. Dinan, and Mr. Munchmore, we had the opportunity to go and present at a national conference about our work, which was exciting for us, not only to share it, but then to get feedback and learn while we were there and think about how that would impact us. Grant opportunities. So this is all money that we've received this year that allowed us to do beyond what our normal budget would allow for. And so our Stronger Connection grant, that was a competitive grant through the state of Ohio. That allowed us to do the pipeline and work with our future Wildcat students and their families. We had high dosage tutoring. That is tutoring that's going on at Finneytown Elementary for our students who are off track. And we received $127,000 towards that and $500. And then American Youth Foundation, and that's our partnership with Interact for Health. I do want to do a shout out to our partner, Sandra George. She has been a fantastic person to work with. She's advocated for us and really pulled, kind of helped us along in the process, and it's been a great experience. All right, this isn't as exciting, but necessary. Our systems and protocols. We have done a lot of work this year around our EMIS reporting and data collection. We want to make sure that whatever our report card says is reflective of what we're doing. And part of that is understanding data in is what you get out. And so good data in is good reporting. So we've been learning a lot around that, understanding that. Residency and enrollment protocols, I think I shared at the last one. We had some community members who probably got letters over spring break. We are trying to be more diligent with our residency guidelines. And that's taken a lot of work with Ms. McNair, Ms. Schnur, myself, along with our building principals and our attorneys, just to make sure we're legal and all that. Frontline Central is a new process of onboarding, and then our hiring team continues to do their work. I will say one of the best things I think when we revamped our hiring process a few years ago was, one, bringing our students on board. So our students are involved in the hiring process, which is awesome, as well as a consistent team. And so if you interview for us, you have a consistent experience, whether it's at secondary, at the elementary, or here at district office. And I think that helps us do a better job with our hiring. I'm not going to go through all these, but I do want to say we are intentionally networking and growing and sharing our work with our community, with other districts, with other organizations. These are just some of them. We also, our leadership, the way we feel in terms of our district leadership, we know we're learners first. And so when you look up here, reading and reflection and learning, we spend a lot of time learning together. We are not knowers. I will not pretend to stand up here and say I have solutions, but I will seek them with our team. We will read about them. We will talk to other people about them, and we will try things. And so I think that makes us incredibly strong as a team. Here are some more partners. I will point out Alabar and Scanstar are two partners we have right now in terms of the OFCC project, along with OFCC. The Tommy Simpson, she does a lot of work with us around equity. All of our new staff go through equity training for their, and as well as all of our staff who were here before coming out of COVID did 1 degree shift 2, which is an equity training to make sure we're being culturally responsive and making sure that how we show up for our kids meets their diverse needs. Because as we know, we have a very diverse student population and community population. All right, I think I shared this last time, but this quote resonates with me in terms of the work we do. Find a group of people who challenge and inspire you, spend a lot of time with them, and it will change your life. I will share with this group, I've shared it with the board, I've shared it with our team. Public education is one of the most challenging arenas to be in. And to me, we have a fantastic team here at Pennytown. And I'm fortunate, and I would not want to do it with anyone else. And so I just kudos to everybody from our treasurer, to all of our building leaders, to all of our district leaders, to staff, to, I mean, even our partners with Peterman, our custodians, our maintenance, everybody who shows up here every day. We're fortunate. And I know I talked a lot. Thank you for sitting through that. And then I did ask, I don't know if you have questions, which I'm happy to, but I did want to give Grant an opportunity to share a facilities update too. So, thank you. Yeah. It's very well put together.
Can I ask just one quick question?
Sure.
So the graduation rate number, OSBA last year at their convention voted to lobby to get the state to change. So when students in the special ed program continue, that counts against you in your
Right.
graduation. Has there been any movement on that?
It has not changed yet.
Okay.
It has been brought up in conversations too.
Okay.
But Ms. Miller is working, she has a way that we're approaching that, so it doesn't impact us as much.
Okay.
So it's definitely lovely for all. So real quick updates on facilities. So obviously the biggest one is that we are over here at Brent. And so the biggest kind of background of that is when we gathered our quotes and got our bids as part of the 100 building renovation proposal, they were over 20% on it. And then as we kind of looked at our master plan, it just didn't feel right to spend money on something, that much additional money that we were beyond what we thought we would have to spend. Just did not feel right. And so at that point, we decided to shift over here. And so we have been investing a little bit over here. A lot of sweat equity, a lot of painting, a lot of cleaning. This room's gotten all painted. Obviously, we've got some new cameras in here. There's going to be carpet, some other things in here. Most of our offices is pretty much just paint. You know, not a ton of new fancy things. Just trying to make sure that it's something that we can use. And then the other big kind of update is with our OCC building, we are fully into design development. And so that is kind of plowing forward, trying to work through all of the next level details. So the things to kind of know, again, big timeline things. This summer we have utility work. So that's probably, for this project, it's just a massive part of the project. And so we have to refeed all of our buildings at secondary campus with electric. We have a bunch of water shifts, plumbing shifts, low voltage, our internet coming in, our dark fiber that connects secondary campus to our elementary campuses. for phones. There's just a whole lot that's going to be happening in June and July, and then the early demo of the old district office, part of the 300 building, and then part of the locker rooms happens sometime probably late June, July, and then hopefully we'll have footings going in September. So somewhere in that point. So currently we're still on track for substantial completion the fall of 2025, and we intend to move in mid-year during the 25-26 school year. So we're still kind of holding that lightly in terms of the calendar. So we intend to wait a little bit longer to bring the 25-26 calendar to you guys, because we want to verify that that's going to happen, because obviously it's going to impact that mid-year, what we're doing during the 25-26 school year calendar. We may have to add some additional days, some like PD days and things like that. So, but yeah, that's the update. Yeah.
The quotes that came in on the 100 building, am I allowed to see those? I hear lots of information about prevailing wage and union contracts that are supposedly so much higher, and in school projects I hear they're not. For personal interest, I would like to see if there's a difference between a union shop or a prevailing wage shop and non.
Well, that was federal money, so all of the
had
bids,
prevailing wage?
All of them were prevailing wage.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but we had bids that ranged, from 2.1 to 2.8 million. Our original estimate was like 1.6 to 1.7 million.
So when we start our bids for our regular building, they don't.
That's not. It's a different type of money.
Right. So it doesn't have to be prevailing wage. So I would be interested in seeing the quotes then, just to compare, which they are. Because if they're close, I'd rather give the money to the workers rather than giving the money to the pockets of the owners. I know we don't have a say in who we pick. We go necessarily with the cheapest one, but.
Well, it is an interesting process, and so that, just to kind of speak to that just for a moment, so there's a whole budgetary process behind the scenes between Elevar, our engineer and designer, our architect and designer, and Skanska. And so they both have budgeting teams that put together those numbers. Those are all best guesses until they think they have this perfect project, or as close as they can get it, and then we put it out to bid, and all of the subcontractors, they start to submit their official proposals. We're willing to do the work for X number of dollars. That's when rubber meets the road. So we just don't know until we get to that point. Now, obviously, Skanska and Elevar are having direct conversations with possible subcontractors that will be used on this project. We'll see.
I'm interested in seeing it. I know there's probably nothing as a board member we can do about it, but I hear lots of stories about prevailing wage, and I also see reports that say they're not that much different.
Yeah.
So for school projects, they are for other projects.
It depends on the area that you're paying. I think it's different if you're paying somebody to paint drywall or paint. That's pretty different between what you can get for a typical worker versus prevailing wage versus someone who's like an HVAC technician. There's not that much different, is what I see. But we'll see, obviously, we'll start to get all those in. Hopefully by the end of the summer, we'll start to get the GMP and start moving forward with the actual project. So, yep, exciting about it.
2 questions.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of questions about Whitaker demolition. Do we have a timetable for that? I know it's been put on the back burner because we've been focused on moving here and things. So.
Yeah, so it is, the bids we're still collecting bids. Bid opening is in a couple weeks. And once we open the bids, it's basically lowest bidder wins. So it's a closed bidding, well, I don't know what closed or open bidding, but whatever. We will open them online, and that'll all be public. And then it's usually, I think we have like the end of May, they get the motion to move forward. I know it's on there. And so I would imagine we'll start seeing work June, July. And I think they have until like mid-September to be totally done. But that is just for clarity of that project, that brings the building down and puts the entire property back to grass. So that is a pretty massive thing. And so Chris Gilbert and I have had conversations, so he's prepared. And that is a benefit to us with whatever we decide to do with that property, because if we end up disposing of that property, it is a blank slate for whoever gets it. And so we want it back to grass. So, and then it's on the township. They own that last little strip that connects to water, and then they'll work that out with whatever happens.
And then my second question, just something you had said there. With all the talk that goes into making a budget, we made a budget for the 100 building renovations, and then it was significantly off. Is there concern that we're going to see that elsewhere on the project? Is that going to come back in other ways, or was that just a blip and we know what caused it to be off so much?
I think it's the budgetary process with our OFCC project is pretty different. So, and I'm not throwing anybody underneath the bus, but like with our 100 building, that was our architect working with possible subcontractors and GCs to develop what they thought it would be. With the OFCC project, that is Elevar, Skanska, and OFCC all working together to make sure that we have a number. So it's it's way more in depth. It's very likely to be much closer. We're still tracking, all the shifts in the market, as well as shifts in, getting all of our switch gear and different long lead time items. And so those are the things that we're more concerned with. It's just trying to stay on top of all those things, because those are the things that could push our project back. So,
Thank you.
yep, you're welcome.
Anything else?
I think that's it. All right. Okay, so moving on to item 6, we have public address. I have 3 that were turned in. I'm just going to read the top part of it so that everyone understands the expectations, and then we will get started. The board believes it is in the best interest and the best interest of the students of the district to hear comments from members of the public. It has been, therefore, a long-standing practice of the board to encourage and allow residents to speak at the public meeting. This may be done by completing the bottom portion of this form and giving it to the board president prior to the meeting. The following guidelines ensure that anyone interested in addressing the board may do so, and that board conducts the business of the school district in an effective and efficient manner. Number 1, attendees must register their intent to participate in the public participation portion of the meeting upon their arrival at the meeting by completing this form and returning it to the board president or presiding officer. 2, each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. 3, for the public record, each speaker addressing the board must state their name, address, and group affiliation if and when appropriate. Any material or handouts must be presented to the treasurer for record. 4, the naming of individuals, profanity, abusive language, and speeches that invade individual privacies will not be tolerated or permitted. 5, the board will take no action regarding matters or issues presented through public address in the meeting in which the public address was made. All necessary follow-ups will be made verbally or in writing at a later date. All right, so we're going to start with Janecia, thank you. Janecia Simmons.
Hi, my name is Janecia Simmons. I currently home on 8967 Cherry Blossom Lane. It is pretty much connected to the school grounds. We share, I don't want to say share, but my home is adjacent to the tree line, which is owned by Finneytown High School. I wanted to come tonight just because I feel like we've had very little communication shared with us in regards to the plans with the tree line. We've had several trees to fall on our property, in which we've either had to personally take care of it and or the township has volunteered to remove a couple of the trees just because of how heavy they were, even though it's not allowed. We did reach out, so we've owned the house for 4 years now. When we first found out that the new school will be going in, and even prior to, we did reach out to a again, not, because I heard the rules, so no mention of any names, but we reached out to the previous superintendent. And we were told that the school itself has no interest in the property, and so we can pretty much do what we want to do with it. That doesn't resonate with me because I need to, there's some responsibility that has been lying on us that's not necessarily fair. So moving forward, I just wanted to find out, what are the plans in terms of communicating with the neighbors, especially myself, in regards to the grounds and what's going to happen. Right now, we have a pond that is on our property that is not ours. It was obtained and it was placed by the previous owners who, again, hearsay, but we were told that because the school had no interest in it, they just decided to do something with it to make the block look better. And so that responsibility has fallen on us. We do have, I can submit it like that, we do have pictures and such, because the current groundskeepers, they stop at a certain point of taking care of the property, which is, how do I want to say this? They should be taking care of our property, the school's property, but they stop prior to. They kind of stop at the stop sign when the property goes beyond that. And so we were told once all the trees start to fall, we had an operation, whatever the title is, yeah, they came out and they told us that the reason why all of the trees are falling is because they're all dead and they're going to continue to fall. So my concern is not only about our home, but now that we have received a letter, I guess the upcoming meeting that's happening to show us exactly where the new baseball field is going to go, I now see from the pictures that it's right in our backyard. With that being said, I'm now concerned not only about our house, but what if the tree starts to fall in opposite direction after you all have spent all this money on this new baseball field? And what is going to keep the balls from hitting our home? I'm assuming that we received that letter because we are within so many yards of the school, because some of my other neighbors have not received that letter. So, and I rest.
Thank you. Susan Hartman?
Yes. Good evening. First, let me say that I am thankful to Michelle Fisk, Assistant Principal, Ms. Martin, and Ms. Wardenberg, and all the caring staff at Finneytown Elementary School. We recently received guardianship of our 5-year-old grandson. He has ADD, ADHD, and possibly bipolar. He is also very smart, caring, and loving child. But not being in the right environment can cause him to lash out, for lack of a better word, become wild. He can and has become destructive, violent, and just plain mean when he is dysregulated. He was asked to leave 2 daycares due to behavior issues. We then enrolled him in West Point, an ECDC school. He went there for full days until he started at Finneytown kindergarten for half days until November, when he came to Finneytown for full days. It became clear that Finneytown was not the right fit for him. We were getting daily calls that he was hurting students, teachers, or himself. At one point, we were told that it would take 3 to 6 months before anything could be done. Thankfully, your team has gotten it done much faster, saving my grandson, the other children, and the staff many problems. In April, he was re-enrolled at West Point ECDC. He is in smaller classes with a ratio of 2 adults to 6 students. The staff is trained in helping children with behavior and psychological difficulties. He is now thriving and growing. I do not expect Finneytown to be able to attain that ratio that West Point has, but something has to be better for 25 students to 1 adult. It isn't working for all the children. Many children just cannot adjust in an environment that is so overwhelming. There are classes for these children with children with physical needs, but I have not seen classes for children with psychological needs. I am not usually one to have problems without ideas on how to fix them, so let me make a few suggestions. There needs to be a room or two, which was promised in the IEP, where a child can decompress. Gina's IEP included an accommodation that he be taken to a room to calm down when he was so overwhelmed. We were told that there is no place in the school where he could do that. I hear that the elementary school is at capacity, but a calming room would probably help for a lot of children who get overwhelmed in classes. Second, a building that has an open secondary floor is a danger in any circumstance, but especially to children with poor impulse control. Our grandson got away from the staff, moved a table, and started to jump over the second floor railing to fall to the first floor. If not for the speed and caring of Miss Fisk, he might have been badly hurt or worse. I would like to suggest that you as a board keep a remarkably close eye on the building of the secondary building to make sure that safety is a priority. Please keep in mind that there are, at first glance, no problems, but please look again and again. I'm also concerned about the well-being of the staff and other students. How much learning can get done while a student is melting down or lashing out? What label is given to these kids with these issues as they move up the grades? Developmental differences and mental health problems can be disabilities as much as physical disabilities. Emotional and psychological special needs should be addressed with dedicated spaces and training for staff. I keep asking, what if we didn't get Best Point to fall back on? I am fearful that our grandson will do so well at Best Point that he will be seen as better and will be returned to Finneytown. At this point, without efforts to understand the needs of children with neurodivergence, I am not sure that he or others will be safe.
And our last speaker is Ryan McDonald.
Ryan McDaniel. I live at 8851 Fountain Terrace. I've been there for 14 years. My daughter has been at Finneytown since kindergarten. She's a fifth grader now, and I echo what was just said so much. There has been a kid in extended care that is physically violent with the extended care workers. I have seen bite marks that break the skin on these workers. I have seen my daughter witnessed a kid throwing a chair at an extended worker, and this woman ended up with a fractured foot in a boot. On Friday, she was hit in the face so hard with a hula hoop by a kid throwing a temper tantrum that I thought her orbital socket was fractured, and she had to go to the doctors. It's not acceptable, and it's not okay, and I don't feel like my child's safe, and I have never stepped up or stepped forward to talk about any problems because I haven't had any. I've had wonderful teachers. The extended care workers are amazing at the school. They're really hardworking and they're kind and they want to do what's best for the kid. But right now, I don't feel like my kid's safe in extended care, and I feel like I need to pull her. And I know these problems aren't being addressed because this kid that hit her and left her with a black eye on Friday is right back at extended care Monday morning with no consequences. It's not acceptable. It's not okay for the kids. All the other kids are witnessing violence, and they're saying that nobody is doing anything about it. What are you going to do about it? I mean, you can't just keep letting the kid go back to extended care. Extended care is not a right, it's a privilege. Should these kids be welcome to an education? Absolutely, they deserve the opportunity for an education. But you should not put children in an optional program after school or allow them to be in an optional program after school if they are physically aggressive and physically violent. It's not okay. It's not okay for your employees, and it's not okay for my child. So, I rest.
Okay. I will reach out to all of you
Beyond Differences Finneytown discussion and invite them to the April 10th meeting. That has been done. Includes staff survey planning as part of the April 10th special meeting strategic plan. We've talked several surveys. We didn't directly talk the staff survey. But we did talk a lot of surveys. We can talk some more about how to incorporate that in more as we go, because I don't think we got anywhere really with it, but we talked about how to do it a little bit. So that one can stay on there, I think. And that's all the ones I had for follow-ups. Is there anything I missed? Okay. Easy enough. Item 8, board coordination. Does anyone want to go first?
I'll go. Typically, I attend the primary and secondary PTA meetings, but Seth attended those this month, so he'll cover those. FMPA did not meet this month, but I do have important dates to jot down for you guys if you guys want to take notes. Noodles and Notes will be held on April 27th at 4:30 to 7 at Finneytown Elementary Cafe, and those tickets are $10 and $14 at the door. There's going to be live music, raffle baskets, silent auctions. FMPA is also hosting their 3rd annual golf outing, and that's going to take place on Saturday, May 18th at 12:30. It's a fun event, 10 out of 10, highly recommend. The golf fees are $100. It includes 18 holes with your golf carts, dinner, and 2 beer tickets. There will also be raffles and split the pots. It's a lot of fun. Beyond Differences met. I'm feeling really good about where the direction is for this committee. The committee is looking for volunteers so that we can grow this committee. So if you know anybody who's interested, reach out to Scott and Kelly. They've done a wonderful job facilitating this committee, and I'm very hopeful and excited about where we're going to grow as a committee for the future. So kudos to them. As I mentioned before, I'm a part of the OSBA Conference Planning Committee. We took action on the selection process for evaluating session nominees. I was really excited to see that Finneytown actually submitted a nomination based on PBL and restorative practices. I appreciate our district taking opportunities to grow on a state level, and I appreciate all the work that you guys are putting in on a daily basis around those topics. Some upcoming events. Family Movie Night is this Friday, April 19th, and that's for kindergarten through 3rd grade. It's from 6:30 to 8:30 at Finneytown Elementary. The admission is free. They'll have concessions, game tickets available for purchase. Going to be a super fun event. Come out and enjoy that with your families. World Culture Night is coming up May 2nd, and that will be held 6:30 to 8 at Finneytown Elementary. If you would like to host a booth, reach out to our awesome counselors. They can get you connected with that. Also, the house system at the secondary campus is hosting a Dine to Donate on April 23rd and April 30th from 4 to 8 at Freddy's. So there will be 10% off combo meals, as well as 10% goes back to our scholarship funds for our students. So take advantage of that.
What was that?
It's the house system. They're having a Dine to Donate, and that's going to be held on April 23rd and April 30th. And it's 10% off at Freddy's for combos, and 10% will go back to the House Scholarship Fund. That'll benefit our students. So, and I think that's all I had.
I'll go. Lori, at our special meeting, I'd sent you an article regarding talks that are going on right now in the State House with education for off-campus religious organizations being allowed to bus kids off campus during specials classes and lunch or library sessions. About 300 districts around the state have done it, but the state is considering making all public schools be subject to that. So local church groups or local faith-based groups parents have to sign the kids up for it, but they will possibly be allowed to be taking kids out of education time for specials to get some religious training. So just a heads up that that may be coming, and may be forced to write a policy accepting that. So I myself have been speaking out against it as me personally. I'm not representing the board. I'm clear to say that because the board has not told me to do that, but personally I'm speaking out to state legislators, hoping they can make that not happen. I don't think it's appropriate personally, but so That's all I have to report.
The secondary PTA is gearing up for the after prom event. If you are available at late at night to early in the morning on the 20th to 21st, please sign up to volunteer and help out. So the secondary PTA is working on that. The elementary PTA is still just getting ready to is starting to gear down and get last minute stuff they need for playground equipment and make sure we're set for that. The Alumni Association had their first outing on this past Thursday, the 11th. We had about around 20 people show up, alumni show up, and from 1967 all the way to I saw someone that graduated in 2019. So we had a variety of ages there. There is a PBL showcase that the alumni is helping with, and that is going to be on May 22nd. Also, this is not NFAA. The Finneytown Crusaders is a youth football team that we're trying to get back to Finneytown for ages 4 to 12. They are looking into getting cheerleading as well for our girls in this area as well. And so there is scrimmages and practices that are happening right now on Sundays, and please look out for that.
Let's see here. So some of the things that we've been working on, we've talked a lot about the strategic plan. So we met on the 10th, and if you look through the minutes for that meeting, you're going to find a lot of detail into what we've talked about on the strategic plan. The first draft was really promising. I really liked a lot of the things in it. There was a little bit of work that we talked about tweaking here and there. They're working on putting together the second draft for us to review. I really liked a lot of what they had, so I'm looking forward to that and hashing out more of those metrics as we go. I met with the boosters. They have the cookout coming up. FAA has the cookout on May 19th. And then the groundbreaking on August 30th is going to be followed by alumni night at the football game. So it's going to be a really big night. There's hopefully going to be a really big crowd. It's going to be a really good time. May 19th. And then they are, of course, gearing up for their big fundraiser of the year, which is parking for the Greek Festival, which they continue to ask every time I talk to them to make sure that they are going to still have the parking lot. Partly why I ask about Whitaker all the time.
They've got almost 20 grand the last couple of years.
It is literally the $20,000 question when they ask me. We did not meet on policies or long-range facilities. Lori and I have been meeting very regularly and reviewing quite a lot. I think that that's been a huge help for everybody, not only with information sharing, but also relationship building. I think it's been going really well. But on that note, we as a board need to start preparing for evaluations. We kind of got a late start with getting through the job descriptions and priorities and things, but we need to divide up who's going to do the evaluations. And I'd like to get them done sooner versus waiting until September, October. So if we want to discuss who wants to volunteer to do them, I know, Lori, I will be happy to work on yours. Anyone want to volunteer to work with me?
I've done days the last 2 years, so.
Would you like a year off?
Sure.
You and Eddie take days?
Sure. I didn't know if it was policy that the vice president did the treasurers or not. I thought Tony had mentioned that before. I don't have.
Did you do that last time? You didn't do it
No,
last year.
I didn't do it last
I didn't
year.
do that. 'cause I
Okay,
did it
so then, all right then, so
No,
it's not,
I have-
maybe it was a policy we ignored, if it is a policy at all, but that's
I don't
fine.
think
I don't
it
have a
is.
problem with that.
Okay, just writing that down
Okay.
so we can start working on that. And it should go really well this year considering the job descriptions and the work that we've already put into it. So I'm looking forward to
Yeah, if
seeing
you
the
need help
process.
with Larry's, I can help, because I know Seth is kind of.
Sure.
So.
Just remember sunshine and stuff, so.
Yeah. The other topic I wanted to ask about is the board retreat. We kind of have started talking it. I know, Seth, you brought it up actually, so I want to make sure you get credit for that. Having one again this year, I think it would be great. I just kind of wanted to start getting the start of that conversation. Do we want to have it all at one time again, like we did on a weekend? Do we want to separate it and do a few different nights? What are we thinking? What would be best for your families?
I feel it's easier just to block out at that time, and sorry, instead of just keep coming and going.
I kind of agree.
I'd rather just get it done on the weekend and just kind of sacrifice it.
So with that, July is the low month. Is that the easier month for you guys, or is it June?
July.
July, Dave?
You don't care?
Okay. So if everyone would just look at their calendars, I'll send out an email and you can respond to me individually and just let me know when your vacations are or when you are absolutely not available, and then I'll put together some date options.
I like the way we organized it last year. Everybody had
Yeah.
ownership and kind of led, so. Are we
Yeah.
thinking facilitators or just kind of?
Well, and that was another one that I wanted to talk about is what do we want to talk about? I had a few ideas from other discussions we've had, metrics. I put on here board/community engagement because that's an idea I wanted to have is how do we, outside of formal meetings, how do we engage more with our time with the communities? I know something we talk athletics is like talk to your board member night or your board members serve you at the concessions type of thing. Like just some of the fun engagement that we can do, just more formalizing a calendar or something there. We can talk the presentations for next school year for the meetings. And then I had the self-assessment on here, but I didn't have any other ideas, so open to whatever ideas you guys have. And you don't have to have them right.
And again, this is an open meeting, correct?
Yeah, this will be an open meeting
Okay.
unless there's something specific that needs an executive session. It will be open. And we can do trainings. We can divide it out depending on how many topics we have.
I'd like to work on working past our differences as a board. I know we focus a lot on, beyond differences and stuff, but I feel like we could work on that as a board as well.
Yeah.
Just kind of practice what we preach.
Would you like to work with me to coordinate?
Sure.
All right, so we will get that moving on. I think that's really everything I had. I know the boosters is really talking about concessions and trying to make sure that they have everything covered and how are they going to get more engagement for concessions going forward. We've talked about swag sales and different community evenings, and there's a few things that we're just trying to talk soft topics, but working through all those.
We want to discuss also staff appreciation.
Yes,
moment
that
too.
was the next conversation on here, is staff appreciation. So, do you want to start?
I know in the past, I know some board members have frowned upon doing the sunshine cards. In the past, what we've done is a couple of board members have decided we wanted to have breakfast for staff members. I'm going to backpedal a little bit. So basically, we set up a cart and we put breakfast items, we put little trinkets items for the staff members, and we go door to door, and we just greet the staff members, acknowledge them. It's been highly impactful, in my opinion. Tony enjoyed it as well as the previous president. I know for some, and I want to apologize to you, Jamie, if I offended you. I didn't realize Chick-fil-A was a sensitive topic. We've had Chick-fil-A in the past. I'm not a politician. I don't do politics. I serve people. So I know our thought process can be a little bit different. So I want to work to navigate through that and figure out a way that we can do something that's comfortable for everybody. I apologize for not being sensitive enough that offended you as far as having breakfast at Chick-fil-A. I apologize for that. That's not something I thought about, and I'm sorry if I offended you. I just wanted to apologize publicly for that. So we eat at Chick-fil-A. I love Chick-fil-A. But if that's something you're not comfortable with, I'm more than happy to figure out a different solution, and we can come up with suggestions. So,
It's a board decision. My thing is I don't think we should be asking someone to donate food for us to show appreciation to our staff. If we're going to show appreciation, we should be paying for it. And that I think that's that is where if we're going to do it, we need to. I think we should be doing things way bigger, but
I think I've just out of
I
Dave,
hear you.
I'm like Dave. I don't want to ask him for I know in the past I've kind of asked for funds, and I've just tried to keep it a little bit more minimal.
I guess I just have an issue asking for people to donate, to give to someone to show our appreciation.
Well, some of the things I'll be honest, I don't submit receipts for. I bought on my own, to be honest with you. So it was more so to save the district money. So of course our staff members deserve more, but I just thought this was a nice little touch, a way to just kind of show our appreciation. I know Laurie and her team have came up with a lot of items that they've given out,
Yeah.
which was nice, $30 to $35 range, so.
Yep. So I think what Lori's team does is wonderful, and I think that as far as a gift, that's fantastic. My personal opinion is I would like it to be more of an impactful type of event, and maybe take instead of, and also on the other side of it, because of my work hours, I can't participate in a cart during the day. So that makes it really difficult to show my appreciation if it's during the day. I came up with the idea of just instead, could we do kind of the same idea, but earlier in the day and do a breakfast where they could come and maybe see 2 of the board members, sit down, talk to us. How are you doing? How's your class? What's on your mind?
Put that by
And-
policy.
No, we've done that before.
We can, yeah, I think just saying hi, and I don't see why it would be any violation of policy to talk. Just say hi. It's not that we're talking a specific
I'm
conversation.
trying to figure out how it's different though, like
Well,
is it just the door-to-door? Like, is that something that's
A little
concerning
bit.
you? or-
Yeah, it interrupts class, and I can't participate in that. So that does make it hard. But yeah, I think that it is more impactful if they can sit down and have a conversation and feel
Well,
listened
when
to
they have
and
time to
heard.
do that, I wonder, would that be disruptive for class too, if they come in and talk?
We
or-
do it before class starts. Class starts at 9 o'clock, so at least at the
Doesn't work
elementary.
for me either, yeah.
Like, Laura, you invited us one year to a staff appreciation, I remember.
The end of the year.
The end of the year.
Yeah.
That was before class, I believe.
It was. I think
Yeah,
I
you gave me a
did.
sugar high that morning with lots of, sorry, I gave
There-
myself by eating donuts, but.
Yeah, I wonder, like, in terms of, I think versus that, I wonder if, like, serving breakfast or something. I don't think in terms of before or after, there's just the time, nor I do worry about what that looks like in terms of, to your point about the policy, like, but I think service and serving the staff breakfast or something could be a possibility. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like going classroom to classroom or door to door, how much impact does that do on the classroom?
It was very brief. Teachers popped in and out for a moment.
I mean, not enough that I got any feedback that it shouldn't happen, but I don't know. I'll be honest, I didn't hear feedback one way or the other on it, so I can't
Does
really
that
say.
make you feel uncomfortable in the past? Like, honestly, like, I mean, how do you feel about it? Does it make you feel uncomfortable, or do you feel like that's not something that you guys to do, or?
I think when it situates, particularly at secondary campus, it can be problematic because it's during AP testing. And so that would be, because that's usually that first week of May. And depending on what our teachers are doing, it could be disruptive. I think if we could figure out a way to do something before or after school when the students aren't in instruction, I think that'd be great.
I know last time Carol just kind of announced it and teachers just came down and, you know, certain teachers delivered to other teachers, so it really wasn't a disruptive thing, but like I said, I'm open to other suggestions. We can figure out something else. If you guys just want to,
I do want to point out the gift that we give, we do put from the board and us,
Right.
like the administration. So we on the card, it always says from the Board of Education and the administrative team. So I just want you guys to know that we do acknowledge that gift is partly, and it's on the agenda tonight for you guys to approve. But
this
yeah.
was not to be spiteful or anything like that. This was just to add some sunshine
No.
and some glow. I mean, we all have a lot of gloom going on right now in today's world, and it was just a way to kind of,
I think it's wonderful that we did it before, and I think it's a wonderful idea to do it in the future. I just can't participate because of my job and things, and I think it would be easier if it was before or after. Would you be interested in serving breakfast?
yeah, would you rather me just take it to the lounge and just kind of spread things out, like, so we can
Well, if
just
we-
kind of have it in the lounge?
if we take it to the lounge and if we're available, some will be at the elementary, some will be at the secondary campus.
Yeah.
And then that'll be a good thing to do, right? Does that work?
So set up like a,
A spread of breakfast.
Just a
like
spread of
pic-
breakfast, trinkets,
tables or-
just little gifts, gag gifts, and just,
would that be like in the morning? I'm just trying to figure.
In the morning.
Yeah.
We said the morning time.
Okay, yeah, I think that'd be
And
great.
then we had, so do we need to approve of the budget? Okay.
Okay, we want to have a budget amount since we don't want to ask for donations. Do we want to put a budget in there for the breakfast since we don't want to ask for donations? Dave?
I'm sure it's probably, we have a budget already
a budget.
for items.
Breakfast fund.
Yeah, well,
So we have a total budget in Sunshine Fund. I'll email that
called that.
information.
yeah, it's literally called the
It's called the Sunshine Fund.
President's fund, too.
I mean, that's what it is, but it's called the Sunshine
Yeah.
Fund. Great idea. So, and we'll see how many we need to look into, and we'll let you kind of coordinate that. Just the biggest thing is making sure 2 go to each school, and we don't have 3 at one and 1 at the other, you know, anything like that. So, you guys have a preference to which school, and
I got kids of both sides. So.
you can be either. Do you have a preference? No? Okay.
I kind of do the secondary for me, just
Part of it.
Secondary for you?
a little bit more.
Sure.
I've just been told that you guys don't accept questions or comments. PTA already does that, though. Are you going to coordinate with the PTA that week?
They do their own thing, yeah.
We'll make sure we don't.
Yeah, we'll make sure, well, in the past, we've done that, yeah, we've worked around it.
Division is not involved.
Yes, I've seen her on PTA meetings.
Okay. So we'll work on that if you want to coordinate the items, and then I'll make sure the schedules all match, and
We'll make sure we reach out to
Teamwork.
the administrators as well.
yes. All right. All right. And then the last item under board coordination is acceptance of the board committee report from Beyond Differences. I believe it's from April 9th, and it's right here. All right, so I guess I always stumble on this. It's just an acceptance, a formal, we've got it, great, thank you, it will be documented online.
That's really an acknowledgement. That should say acknowledgement, not acceptance.
Acknowledgement.
You don't have
Okay.
to approve it. Just recognize the fact that it has been received.
All right, it's been received. Got it. And read. Moving on to item not anything else before last chance. Okay. Item 9, financial matters. Do I have a motion for item 9.1, adoption of the consent calendar?
I will move.
I'll second.
All right, Dave, go ahead.
Okay, the first item, 9.1A, the monthly financial report. If you're referring to that report, total revenue in the month of March in our general fund was $1,413,896. We had expenditures in the month of March of $1,467,488. Our cash balance in the general fund at the end of March, $17,327,922. Item B, depository investment balances as of March 31st, 2024. U.S. Bank, $406,789. Our U.S. Bank Construction Fund, $3,679,871. Star Ohio, $25,563,314. Star Ohio Construction Fund number 2, $3,247,063. Star Ohio Construction Fund number 1, $1,175,317. And our Star Ohio State Share Fund balance at the end of March, $1,331,887. Item C, interest earned on depository investment accounts for March. General fund interest income was $120,285.64. And our construction fund interest income, $20,467.75. The next item, D, bond project spending and commitment report. That is attached with the other reports. And the top table shows the amount expended. I've broken it out between the phase 1 and phase 2. Not a lot of change right now in phase 1. We're holding steady at about $23,750,000 in spending. Phase 2, that is
progressing, and at this point, we've expended through March $616,551, with most of that being state share money. We have some commitments reflected in Table 2. At this point, $298,500 associated with the first project, Greentown Elementary, and Phase 2, we have $26,800,000 and approximately $97,000 in purchase order commitments for the work that's being scheduled. Item E is a recommendation to approve a payment as listed. These are some invoices. There were some billing issues with the vendor, and they've straightened these things out now. Item F is a recommendation to approve the amended official certificate of estimated resources. That's also in your notebooks. What this reflects is some adjustments to some grant money, federal grants, and some new smaller state grants that we have received. So we need to recognize those as resources and then appropriate them so we can spend them. So that's where item G, you can see that we're making adjustments to appropriations for $43,991. That's all I have. I guess I will mention one thing. Mr. Plout had a question about the financial report, and he noticed that the tangible personal property was zero, and appeared to be like we weren't collecting that this year. And as I explained to him, I'll explain to everyone, the final settlement is when we find out what that tangible personal property amount is. Until that time, they give us advances. They just give us money. They don't break it out for me. And so at the end, we will make that adjustment, and so that will be properly reflected. And any other questions about any of these items? Thank you.
Any discussion or questions needed? All right, we're going to have a roll call.
Ms. McMullen?
Yes.
Mr. Ray?
Yep.
Mr. Gass? Mr. Gast? Wow, what's he doing?
Wow.
Sorry about that. Mr. Plout?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes. Item passes.
All right, moving on to item 10, superintendent's recommendations. May I have a motion for item 10.1, adoption of consent calendar?
I'll second.
All right.
All right, item A is the acknowledgement of resignations, which include retirements. Item B, we bring in Tom Snyder for assistant principal at FE. C is approval of contracts for a new high school counselor and a new 7th grade ELA teacher. Approval of contracts there for supplementals is item D. Item E, as we were just discussing, is the approval of payment for the staff appreciation gifts in the range of $30 to $35. This year we were able to, thanks to the personnel committee and some planning, offer our teachers choices in the selection. So I'm excited about that. For hopefully everyone enjoys the gift they receive. Item F is a list of our substitute teachers. Item G is the approval of our extended care rate. That has stayed fairly flat, and with escalation of everything else, we are looking to increase that. Item H is adoption of a resolution, approval of service fund payment. For the board members to attend the institute, sorry. And item I is acceptance of a donation of $175, a cash donation for the secondary campus poetry club's trip to Mackinac Island, funded by the secondary campus PTA, donated on April 1st.
Questions or discussions?
I do on item G, but if there's anything before that, if we want to jump there, that's
I
fine.
had a quick question. Were we planning on continue with drama next year? I know it's kind of on the spot.
we will have an elective, but it will not be creative drama.
Okay.
Yeah, right now, we anticipate, I'm gonna have to remember the name of it. It is Leadership, Restorative, and Community Practices elective for all of our kids K-6. And so we have posted for that position, so it's reimagined, but there will be a elective.
So my question on the hourly tuition rate, that's a 43% hike. That's massive. And I think it will put a financial burden on a lot of the families that are using that rate. Were we losing that much money that we have to raise it 43% to keep it from losing money?
Yes, we are.
Okay. And then from the billing perspective, is this the same situation where if it's $10, if you go a minute above, you get the full $10 hit? Or is this, can we do it somehow that if people only use an extra 5 minutes, they're only paying a 12th of that $10 rather than, like when I used it for my kids, it didn't have as much of a, my wife and I are fortunate where it didn't have that much of a financial burden on us, but we knew families where the way the billing was being done in half-hour rates, if you went 1 minute above, you paid the full half hour. So, like if you go 31 minutes, you're paying $10, as opposed to going 30 and you're paying 5. I just think this is a massive jump in what we're charging for extended care. If we have to do it to break even, I would like to explore the billing then and how it's done to try and control that for families. 43% is very tough for me to understand. So.
Any other discussion?
We break it down by half hour. Can we break it down by a quarter?
We will share with the board the proposal, which neither Dr. Banks nor myself came up with. This is the level the person supervising and managing it. She's made a recommendation, and will allow that. That's not actually being acted right now, and I think the board has the ability to decide what that should be. So we can decide that as you guys are providing information.
Great. If there's no other discussion, can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Cloud?
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Reluctantly because of the tuition rate, but yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Ms. McMullen,
Yes.
Item passes. All right, moving on to item 11, review of action steps. I did not write anything down. Do we have?
I don't think we have.
Well, we have to get back to you about July.
Yes. So let me know about your dates not available in July. That's one follow-up. And then as well, I owe to everyone else coordinating dates and times for the staff appreciation, and then you're going to work on the items.
And then a billing breakdown for extended care.
Are there any restaurants that are off limits that would offend anybody?
I have the one that's.
I also want to, I talked to Tom and for our next work session in terms of working through the next draft of the strategic plan. I want to throw out May 6th. It's a Monday. I know he has pretty limited availability, so I asked him to give me what he had. And
That is fine on my calendar, and it's a good middle, so it's not so rushed with the notes and everything.
I'll make it work.
So May 6th for our working session. I'm sorry, Seth, we'll let you.
That's good.
Okay.
what time?
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
I'll let Mary and Tom know.
Thank you. And then
Go ahead.
I was going to add for that, we can talk the board retreat topics a little bit and coordinating that and work on that.
I would like to push forward the exit survey for staff as well as for students. I'm happy to help you with that, like at our next meeting that we have next month, if you want the help.
We have a draft of it
You have-
already.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like to push that forward.
We just don't have a system around it, so how it's done and who's managing it. Usually that's what we have to figure out. I'll share the drafts with you.
And then I think we kind of cut it off, but you want a breakdown of the hourly rate and how that was decided,
Yep.
right? Okay.
Or if there is a plan for it, like I just see that one's done.
Can you coordinate that, Lori?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay. That is all for the public meeting. I'm going to go ahead and skip to number 13, announcements. The next regular meeting of Finneytown Board of Education will take place on Monday, May 20th at 6:30 p.m. here. Right, this is the library, yes, okay. At Brent Elementary, 8791 Brent Drive, Cincinnati. Open forum will begin at 6 o'clock, same as normal in this room. And then if anyone wants to leave, the only other thing on the agenda is item 12, which is our executive session, which we will need a motion to go into, right? Yes.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Seth, second for Jamie. We are in executive session.
I need
The only
to
thing
take a
left is
vote.
adjournment.
We need a
Oh,
vote.
we need a vote, sorry. Go ahead.
Mr. Cloud?
Yes.
Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. McMullen?
Yes, sorry. I know.
Can I
It's the
read
only
the
one that we
rest of
haven't
it
done that
first?
much. Yes, we can.
I'll wait till we start to clear out.